It is 6 p.m. and I would like to call the Kalamazoo Citizens Public Safety Review and Appeal Board meeting to order. And our first item will be information provided by Ms. Vargas. I'm sorry, Ms. Moore. I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
No problem. Good evening and welcome to the November 10th, November 9th, Citizen Public Safety Review and Appeals Board meeting. As a reminder, if you would like to make a public comment, please call 269-226-6573. Again, if you would like to make a public comment for the board, please call 269-226-6573 and leave a voicemail message. Your message will be limited to 3 minutes. During the citizen comments portion of our agenda, your voicemail message will be played back for the good of the board. Thank you. Additionally, the City of Kalamazoo's live streaming platforms, Facebook and YouTube, do not currently offer the live closed caption. However, please note that public meetings are recorded and upon conclusion are made available with closed caption for the hearing impaired. Thank you, Chairman Payne.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We'll now have the roll call by Ms. Vargas, please.
Yes, Sarah Buchanan is excused. Luis Garcia.
Present.
Curtis Gardner. Danielle Hamilton.
Present.
Kim Hines-Lepsey. Oliver Howell.
I'm here, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Kim. Oliver Howell.
Present.
Vernon Payne.
Present.
Keith Robertson.
Present.
Larry Tolbert.
Present.
And then city staff present are Patsy Moore, myself, Patricia Vargas, and Dorla Bonner, as well as KDPS staff Danielle Gills.
Thank you. Before we look at our minutes, I want to give a special thank you to Ms. Vargas for getting those minutes out in a very, very timely fashion so that the board would have enough time to review those minutes, go through them thoroughly, make any additions or changes. And so that is appreciated, Ms. Vargas. So thank you very much for getting that information to everybody in such a timely fashion, especially with everything that's going on and all the demands that are being made on your time. So thank you very much. And now we'll entertain, are there any changes or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes for 10/13/20.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been seconded and moved to adopt the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, and that's a presentation by KDPS on the hiring practices and procedures. And is that Officer Giles?
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you again. I saw you this morning too. So we were going to talk. I'm here today with Captain Rafael Diaz. He just joined the Office of Professional Standards, and he's going to be assisting in the recruiting aspect. So this is his first conversation with you guys today, but he was excited to be here. I was going to talk about the 62 hiring process. That's the one that we're doing interviews for today and tomorrow. And he's actually going to be talking about some new recruiting initiatives that we have for our current processes that just opened up last week. So Deputy City Manager Moore asked me to speak about our hiring process 62. And 62 opened in May of 2020. And again, we've got a pretty long hiring process because there's so many steps in regards to it. So this group is not hired yet, but they are going through final chiefs interviews today and tomorrow. So to give us numbers on how we're looking for public safety, for that group in May of 2020, we had 268 people apply to that group. You do not need to be NPOL certified. You do not need to have fire certification. You do not need to be EMS certified to apply. we will pay for any training for applicants that come through and that get hired by us. So out of that 268 that applied, only 190 registered for the written test and were invited to the test prep session. Out of that 190, we had 126 that tested online. 93 of those passed the written exam. And out of those 93, we send out our very long packet that's about 30 pages where it's tell us about you, tell us about your life, tell us everything you've done, tell us where you've lived, where you've worked, so that we can go through those. Out of that packet, we only had 61 people return that packet. So we lost just about 30 people in that process. In the middle though, between sending out the background packet and wanting to do, we hold a background workshop every year. The background workshop is in collaboration with Michigan Works and with our training division. And any applicant can come in, they can ask us any question they have on their background. Do I need to add this? Should I add this information? And we will walk them through any information that they might need to, or questions that they may have on it. In our partnership with Michigan Works, they will do a resume building class with them. And then they do their interview skills. They're able to ask interview skills. They can set up appointments with Michigan Works to go and do some mock interviewing and get some feedback on their resume. So we've gotten really good feedback from that. And that's something that's specific to Kalamazoo Public Safety that we do offer. And so out of those 61 that turned in their background packets, we invited 54 of them to come and do an agility testing and first interview. Unfortunately, out of those 54, we only had 16 that passed. Some of them didn't schedule, some of them didn't show up, some of them withdrew. We had a lot of people that failed PT this year. And what we do with our PT test is we mirror MCOOL standards, which is the Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement Standards. So what you need to do to get into a police academy is what we require for our candidates coming through. So if they pass a physical agility, they will come to a first interview. And again, we lost 42 people, or I apologize, we lost 26 people out of that process. So we took 16 new backgrounds. Out of those backgrounds, we had 2 people withdraw. We had 3 that failed their backgrounds, and we took 11 to final chiefs interviews. So we did 6 of them today. We have 5 of them going tomorrow. Chairman Payne was able to sit on them this morning. I did hear good things. It sounds like you had some good candidates that we're interviewing today. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have some equally good ones. And we're hoping to give conditional offers on Thursday. Does anybody have any questions about our current process? And if not, then I'm going to turn the floor over to Rafa, our Captain Diaz, who can talk about our upcoming processes.
So
me
just
just-
to,
Go ahead. I'm
just
sorry.
to clarify, I did ask the KDPS to give us information on the current hiring process. So it is not the hiring policies and procedures that we're going through tonight. Chief has asked us to wait on that. So what I wanted you to be acquainted with was where the hiring process for this group began and how the numbers flow through to get us to the point where we are now with the chief's interview. So really just to give you an overview of what's happening with the current process. And I think we did have some questions.
Yes, Jess, you said 16 passed the physical, 2 failed the background checks. And what was the final number? Was it 11?
11. We actually had 2 that withdraw. So they made it to the backgrounds, and for personal reasons, they withdrew from our process. Out of those, so that brought us down to 14. Out of the 14, we had 3, math is hard. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. We had 3 failed their backgrounds, and we took 11 to final interviews.
Thank you.
So now my math in there for a second.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So is it typical for the hiring cycle to be reduced down that much? So it went from like 200 to 11. Is that typical?
Unfortunately, yes. Every process, we lose about half of the people in each of the individual categories. So from when they first apply to when they go to a test, we lose about half. And that has been historical since I've been at public safety. Knowing that there are some of those gaps, we've tried to put in procedures or programs to kind of stop loss, for lack of a better word. So between the first test, or so before the first test, so when they apply before the first test, we offer a test prep session. So if you live in Kalamazoo, we offer that for free. You can do it completely online. And if you live anywhere in Kalamazoo, you can actually show up to our test prep session that we offer 2 days before the test, where you can come, you are given a practice test. They go over how to complete the answers, how to work through some of the math questions. It gives you a really good opportunity. You're in front of the test proctors, so they can ask questions to the actual company who wrote the test. We started offering that ballpark several years ago because we were trying to not lose so many people in that process. We're saying, hey, what's preventing people from getting past this test successfully? So we started offering that. But again, we lose half. So we offer the background process. And then as part of the fire agility, we partnered with Michigan Works to help them with interviews, because we noticed people were struggling with interviews. We then noticed that they were struggling with fire agility. So they're actually given an opportunity to come and do the practice test, that they can do the physical agility. And we have a video online that shows exactly what you have to do, where we went through it, we taped it, we filmed it, we put it up online and saying, this is exactly what you are going to come in, you know exactly what you're going to be doing. So any place that we could fill a gap to try to get people up there, we try to, but our numbers are sadly still historically low.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chairman Payne, I saw Curtis Gardner. I don't see his square on, but it seems as if his name did appear and he raised his hand. So.
Mr. Gardner, are you with us? Apparently, he lost the connection. Here he is. Mr. Gardner, are you with us? Do you have a question, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
How long do they get to take to prepare for the physical test?
For the physical test, so the physical test last year, or we post in May, and I want to say the physical test was in September, so May, June, July, August, so 5 months, 4 to 5 months. And they know right at the beginning, this is what's expected out of you. And so they have that good 5 months where they can watch the videos, they can give us a call, we can walk them through it to get ready for that initial physical fitness test.
And the written test?
The written test, so from the time that they apply, so May, I think the dates for, we did online testing for this last group due to COVID, and they usually have about 2 months to prepare for the written test. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter, sometimes it's a little bit longer depending on our schedules, but it's usually at least 6 to, I would say, 10 weeks from the time you apply to the time you actually test.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Officer Diaz, are we ready for Officer Diaz?
Yes, if there's no other questions, I'll have him get into our current one.
Any additional questions?
Danielle, did you indicate the websites where they can apply?
Yes, I didn't indicate that, but I will. So you can go to NeoGov through the city of Kalamazoo. However, the easiest way, honestly, to do it is to get onto our public safety website. So it can be www.kalamazoopublicsafety.org, or actually, if you just type in www.kdps.org, it pulls up our website also. When you come to our website, right at the top, there's a banner that's flashing in red saying apply online. The hiring process is open. When you click on that tab, it brings you up to our page that says, if you're a certified officer, apply here. If you're not a certified officer, apply here, because we have 2 simultaneous processes going on right now, which Captain Diaz is going to talk about a little bit further. But nope, you can go right onto our website, and it's right at the top. And then we have advertised on our social media. So it's on Facebook, it is on Instagram, it's on Twitter, and then it's on our news releases that have went out throughout the city for our hiring process also.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Captain, you want to talk about the current one?
Yes, so I just left training division and came over here to this position here in professional standards. So I'm excited about it. There's lots of moving parts. Some of the things that we've been able to do in the past in terms of ramping up for our hiring process, which just began on November 2nd. have been adversely affected, as we all know, by COVID. So social interactions, things like that we would normally be involved in have been really winnowed away. And so we've tried to do as much as we can with what we have. Looking at some of recent activity, we've had live events where we visited campuses looking for persons who are interested in starting their career in law enforcement. Those schools included Grand Valley State University, Washtenaw Community College, Schoolcraft Community College, Lansing Community College, Oakland Community College, Western Michigan University, Saginaw Valley State University, Ferris, Northern Michigan University, which was a virtual event. So those are some of the activities that were going on leading up to the opening of the process. Starting November 2nd, we actually had 2 different career paths, if you will, open and available. The first is 63, and that's where we take recruits who have no training. And as Danielle expressed, without any training at all, you not only receive the training, but you're also paid during that time. So that's a barrier that perhaps had been there in the past and isn't now. But we've also opened up a lateral process that allows us to bring on board persons who have experience from other agencies and are currently Michigan licensed or eligible to be licensed police officers. And that's actually a huge benefit to the organization by having someone who's experienced and has already shown a proficiency to do the work. But we also save some of the costs involved in paying for the police academy, and then also some of the training that goes into getting them squared away before they're able to take calls on their own. So right now, with those 2 different processes in place, for recruit side, we have 102 applicants that were received as of, I think about 4 o'clock today. And then on the lateral transfer side, persons with prior police experience, we have 16. That may seem like a small number, but quite frankly, that's a really good number, because each of those persons could come into the organization and have a substantial amount of their training already taken care of. So what are we doing right now in terms of trying to get the word out? A couple of different things. First, locally, tomorrow we're going to be doing a citywide recruiting tour, and that's going to take us to 7 different locations throughout the city. We'll have an engine, a couple of cruisers, officers on scene. We'll make contact with folks and encourage them both to apply to public safety if they're interested in a career with us, and also answer any questions that they may have. Perhaps they've seen something, perhaps they're aware of it, but haven't had an opportunity really to talk with someone about that move. And so we'll be able to provide that information at that time. Another initiative that we have, the National Minority Update, is a kind of a national information share that gives information about different job postings throughout the country. And so we have a couple of different ads that were made available and published. What's great is that we have also a national kind of focus, trying to find eligible candidates interested in coming to public safety. A lot of times we find that some folks maybe move away from the area and want to come back. And this is a way to kind of get to them that knowledge that we're hiring. And those started on the 2nd. We also have the PACE program. So that's kind of a partnership with the Army, where persons who are either in the Guard or maybe decommissioning and coming out of service are looking for work in the area. And what they do is by region, they can kind of partner with us, and then they share their postings with their staff so that they are aware that we're hiring in the Kalamazoo area. And their website on their portals bring them to our website where they're able to make application. So those are some of the biggest pieces that we have moving right now. And along with that process, we make telephone calls to follow up with people who have applied to make sure that they've answered the questions correctly, or if they have any other information they'd like to add, and just to make sure that they're in the right box, either the recruit category or the lateral transfer category. So that's rolling right now, and it's exciting to see all these individuals who are interested in the career of public safety.
Can you touch on the dates real quick?
Yes, so date-wise, the recruit side will run till November 20th. So we're taking applications for untrained persons through November 20th. And then when we move on to the lateral transfer, we're doing it kind of on a rolling basis. And so it's a bit of an expedited process. The reason that we're able to expedite that process for those folks is because they've already gone over that biggest hurdle of demonstrating proficiency in the police side, which is some of the most difficult parts to get through. So the dates for that include November 2 through November 13, then November 14 through December 18, December 19 through January 14, and January 15 through February 12. And what we do in each of those categories is break down kind of an accelerated mini process. They'll still have to go through the background. They'll still have to go through the testing. It's just an expedited process. And that will allow us to bring in laterals sooner and more often.
Any,
Question? Oh, sorry.
no, I was going to ask if there were any questions by the board, but go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
I was saying the same thing. I was going to ask if there was any questions.
I have one. When you bring somebody that's been on the force before, is it how deep do you go on a background check of that officer?
They have the full same background investigation that is conducted. That portion isn't shortened. That part is something that you can't skip over. Although MCOLS does have some procedures in place to ensure that, you know, one person leaving an organization has certain information that's made available to the next agency that reviews that person. We don't leave it to, oh, you were a police officer before, you're good to go. No, we go through the full background investigation that anyone would.
Thank you.
Just a couple
Thank you.
questions. Just a couple questions. You're planning on hiring how many?
We currently are allocated for 253. As of earlier this month, I think we were down at 238. So that gave us 15 kind of right off the bat. We also just accepted the COPS grant though for staffing, which gives us another 15 allocation. So right now, today, if we add the COPS grant, we're about 30 people down. Without the COPS grant, we're still about 15 down. That's specifically due to the unprecedented number of early retirements that we saw this year because of the new
Act
law,
88.
Act 88, which allowed you to bring service from another agency and apply it to your retirement from public safety.
That's a couple more follow-ups, if you don't mind. So after they're recruited, go through all of the training and actually the background check, you know, you have final candidate. Are they then placed into the academy?
Yes, so after they successfully pass the chief's interview, they're given a conditional offer of employment. As part of that conditional offer, they have to have a drug screen, a medical screen, and have to go through psych examinations. If they pass all three of those, they are given a start date. For those that need to go through the police academy, we will send them through the police academy. So for this group that was interviewing today and tomorrow, they are going to, the ones that need the police academy, they will be starting the police academy in January here at Kalamazoo Valley.
Okay, one last question. Officer said the PACE program, do those acronyms, is that an acronym that means something?
Yes, the pays, and I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't have that. I will look that up and give it to you. I looked it up and I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes, thank you for taking the questions. I just kind of wanted to touch on what people have already asked, but in regards to especially those that have prior experience as police officers, how long is their training before they go out on their own? Obviously, since their training is kind of somewhat shortened, since they have already done some or most of the training already. So how long until they kind of be the fully fledged police officers, I guess?
So before I answer that, I'll go back to the last one. PACE program stands for Partnership for Youth Success. That's the acronym. As far as the training goes, because they don't have to go to the police academy, that's the only part that we really cut out here. So they will still go to the fire academy, which is 11 weeks, the medical first responder academy, which is 3 weeks, They will go through an advanced academy, which is kind of a capstone to all of the other training, tying it together in-house. And that's 4 weeks. After that, they then start the field training officer program. That has 3 phases plus a shadow period of time. Each phase has a different officer assigned to them. And throughout that entire process, there is a single sergeant assigned to that trainee who monitors their progress as they move through it. So none of that is abbreviated. However, if in FTO, they demonstrate proficiency as the solo beat competent officer, meaning that person on a regular basis shows that they're able to function at the level that we find acceptable. And it's an objective standard. It's a great program that we've used for several years now here. DeWolf and Associates, they have the model that we use. Then that person could leave early. If someone is having difficulty in one area or another, we can always extend it so that we can focus time and training to get that person through.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Basically, when you finish your police academy training, you could have up to 1 year before you're actually on the streets on your own, because the fire training is extensive, and then there's that other boots on the ground, so to speak, training that accompanies that. Now, the COPS program that you mentioned is a wonderful program, community-oriented policing services, and I'm just so excited that the department qualified for a $1.8 million grant to get 15 positions for 3 years. Now, if you extrapolate that out 3 years, if we have vacancies, we can absorb those COP officers within the budgets that we now have, or within our general fund, within our allocation right now. So that's an exciting, exciting program. And what's essential is not the numbers coming in, the 260 who have applied. The key for policing in Kalamazoo is the quality of the applicants, and the fact that we need to have applicants who coming into the department believe in the mission and the vision that we have for policing in Kalamazoo, and they share our values and vision for the community. That's where the hard work begins. And you can have officers who have experience, officers who have no experience. If they don't cross that hurdle, then it's going to be very difficult for them to become police officers in Kalamazoo. And this is a wonderful opportunity that we have now with this many vacancies, because we have an opportunity for Chief Coakley and the department to continue to push the envelope in terms of the quality of policing in our community. And so some might say, oh, this is a struggle having these many vacancies. It is. But at the same time, it is a magnificent opportunity to have officers on the street who buy into the values of the community. I didn't mean to take any of your time there, but I hope that my statement is correct. The other thing that's impressive to me is that I spent the morning down at KDPS doing in-person interviews. They do a wonderful job. Chief Coakley does a wonderful job with his 3 assistant chiefs. The union was there and I was there. And that was one of the most thorough processes I've ever seen. And I've been at hiring for 50 years or more. They do an excellent job. The problem is getting the quality applicants. And I challenge each board member to get one person of quality to apply. We worked on that on November 3rd, Chief Coakley and I. Just get one to apply, a quality person that you think would make a good officer in our community. I challenge you to do that. I'm doing that. So is Chief Coakley. He's getting several. Anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just wanted to express my thoughts and feelings about where we are with policing and recruiting police and training police in Kalamazoo. Any further comments? Questions?
I just wanted to thank KDPS for the presentation, and also as far as the board is concerned, as Chairman Payne indicated that he is currently sitting on the chief's interview, and Chief Coakley has opened that up to the Citizen Public Safety and the review boards. So as they go through, the hiring processes, you will we will have a representative from the board to sit in on those interviews. So that is a change that Chief Coakley has implemented. So hopefully more of you can get that that opportunity that Chairman Payne is experiencing right now with those interviews.
Absolutely. We'll be doing it again tomorrow morning, all morning, with some additional candidates.
Yeah.
And the process, I tell you, you will be impressed with that process. They do a thorough job. I was very impressed with them. Okay. Thank you for that, Officer Giles, Officer Diaz. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Subcommittee reports. Who do we have up for first on the agenda for subcommittee reports?
Well, we can start by reviewing the activity tracker if that's okay. And then as subcommittees have input, they can share it at that time if you'd like to proceed that way, Chairman Payne.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully you all have had a chance to look at the activity report, and I'll just go through the ones that have changes and talk about those. The first one, maybe I can share my screen. Not sure if you can see it, but the first one is the citizens to conduct the citizen survey. And we're moving that down to the subcommittee.
You just need to take it over a little bit to your left, I think.
To my left. Actually, can you see my cursor?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is column A. That is the beginning.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So the only note on that, just moving that task to the subcommittee working on developing partnerships and connecting resources, because as in their last report, they were doing some groundwork or having discussions about that survey. Nothing has started yet, but that's where that is being moved. On the investigative side, we can have Director Bonner share any updates she'd like to on the independent review.
I'm sure I can share. We are waiting on some information from the organization that was selected by the committee. The purchasing is waiting on their insurance information, which we should have very shortly. And once that information is received, then we will release the names of that organization and get started with the work. So I sent an email to purchasing today to find out if that had been received, but I haven't heard back yet.
I think they're still working on it.
Yes.
Moving to the next category under community awareness and access, the website. Our staff has looked at our capacity and have determined that we will be able to create that website with city staff. But we would certainly like to have a couple of you assist the city staff with giving your feedback and input as they design that website. So we're looking for two of you to work with our city staff on creating that website. And I know Ms. Buchanan indicated that she wanted to be on a subcommittee, so I would like to ask her to, because she missed the assignments, to be one person to serve on that committee. I have not heard back from her, but we'll need at least one other person to work with that group as they begin to develop that website. And that goes, as we develop that website, we will continue to look at the branding and the logo. We did have a couple of logos as possibilities. I did not bring them tonight, but we will be sharing them with you email, and you can give your opinion on them. These are just some ideas, and we would like for you to let us know what you think, if we're headed in the right direction, if you have some additional ideas. So we will get that out to you this week of some possible logos for the Citizen Public Safety and Review Board. The community forums, the listening sessions. Dorla, would you like to share with the board where we are with the listening sessions?
Well, a couple of things. We had a meeting with our subcommittee and they wanted to share some things, and then I have something to share first. They're kind of separate, but I wanted to give them an opportunity. So I think Ms. Hamilton, you were the assigned person to share from the committee.
Yeah, sure. I guess just a brief share out for what we discussed was really moving forward and taking some tangible next steps in working with like contracting. I think it was WMU, if I'm allowed to say that, to kind of work with us to develop a survey. We really wanted to focus on capturing the community's I guess gauge around the process in terms of like, again, like we said many a times, like whether they trust the process or the type of involvement that they want to see with the restructuring of the process. I'm, for one, very excited with the conversation that we had with Ms. Bonner and myself and Jaquise, because I think like what we found out was that moving forward, we want to be very, very intentional and transparent with the data that we're collecting, because that's only going to help kind of undergird how we move forward in the process in developing. We also thought it would be beneficial to kind of review the contract, just so we can all have a very much so like comprehensive understanding of the processes that are already kind of on paper and that we kind of use. We will be looking at kind of using like outside sources to kind of help us walk through that contract, the police union's contract, just to kind of help us with kind of understanding and interpreting like I said, what's already written and what's already down, and where we want to go moving forward from there. I want to say thank you again, Ms. Bonner, for sending out that link and being kind of responsive to getting us that information and moving forward in that regard. I don't know if Jaquise have anything she wants to lift up more.
You covered it all.
So in addition to that, you know, there's so much going on. So we're kind of living in parallel worlds, moving at the same place, same way. But we're going to be working with the chief because he's been hosting sessions and talking to folks. So we're going to hold a general listening session, not the one that we've been talking about in terms of the complaint process and appeal process, but just to hear and supporting him so he doesn't have to do it alone, and working with the public relations firm we have. So that plan is in the works for a town hall in early December. And the goal is going to serve a couple of purposes. We want to make sure the community, you know, knows what the action plan was, where we started in this summer, our response to the civil unrest, where we are, and also allow the chief to share his plan on a larger scale. You know, he's been sharing it in small groups and at commission meetings, but we know everybody doesn't go to those. So we're going to need your help in our outreach, because we want to make sure that everybody, as much as we can, have folks that are impacted hear the plan and meet the chief in his new position, and also have a chance to share. So, you know, the goal is to have, you know, just very brief staff city information, and the rest of the time be the public sharing their experiences. And then that will support us when we get ready to do the things with you. So it's working, you know, it's really cool, but even it wasn't planned like that, but it's really working out very well for us all to get to this same end goal, for all of us to be more responsive and reactive in a positive way, but also in a proactive way, because we know more. And so we didn't want you to be blindsided. It's not a substitution, it's an and. And so you will hear more about that in the very near future because it's already the middle of November. So, but that's where we are. So thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Okay. As we indicated before, our new reporting will start in January after the chief gets settled and gets his staff in place. We are open to receive resumes from individuals who are interested in the internship. If you have individuals that you are aware of who are interested, please feel free to send them my way. And once we have a few individuals that we can look at, I will update you and we will move forward with that. Those are all of the updates I have. I don't know if any of the other groups have any additional updates, but those are all that I have this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Moore, you may have provided this information earlier. Will you be providing a copy of the hiring policies and procedures to the board?
For public safety?
Yes.
I think the chief wants to do a full presentation on those, but he wasn't able to do that this evening.
Okay. Will we be getting any of that information in advance or maybe after the board meeting, or how do you think that's going to work for the board? The reason why I asked the question is because it would be advantageous if we could have the material to read through prior to a board meeting.
Sure.
And then come to the meeting, informed about the policies and the procedures.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And that's going to be okay. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Any board member comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, thank you. I'll just make a few brief comments here. Chief Coakley has been chief for a little over a month, and he's hit the ground running. Last Tuesday, November 3rd, the chief and I visited a lot of the polling places in Kalamazoo. And we had the officers were not intrusive who were out patrolling that day. They were distant, but they were there to ensure the safety and sanctity of the voting process in Kalamazoo. And it was an overwhelming success. Having the opportunity to watch Chief Coakley in action as he interacted with the public and with our citizens gave me a better understanding of his strategy. It's communication based, it's listening based, it's accountability based, and he holds himself to that same standard. So having that opportunity for 7 hours to watch that process with our KDPS officers, quietly protecting the sanctity and safety of our citizens as they voted, was impressive. And then this past Saturday, November 7th, Chief Coakley was out again, communicating with people who were involved in celebrating their candidate for the election process and making sure that those celebrations proceeded in a safe manner, quietly and effectively. I also am impressed that KDPS was able to take more guns off the street during the X-trains this past couple of weeks. The $1.8 million COPS grant is phenomenal. That speaks to the quality of the hiring process that we already have in place. And so I share that with you to say that our board now is at a point where I think we're perfectly positioned to have an impact on policing in Kalamazoo with our new chief, with his vision and mission statement, and with the assistant chiefs who are all on board to move us forward. We have an opportunity not just to be a model police operation in the city, we have an opportunity to move the needle to be the best. And so I want to share that information with you because I think that the changes that we're making with the operations of our board, we're becoming more involved in the decision-making process and making sure that things are going to move forward for our citizens is significant. And I want to thank Ms. Moore, the staff, and the city manager for being receptive to moving the needle in terms of review to oversight appropriately for our community. And so appreciate it and thank you all. The upcoming, any citizens comments? We don't have any live citizens comments.
Let's check. Staff, IT staff, do we have any citizen comments this evening?
There are none at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our upcoming meetings will be December 8th and January 12th. And so are there any additional comments from any of the board members?
Yes, I have a couple. I would be interested in creating the logo if you need another person.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Curtis.
And when the interviewing process goes forward, what is the next one and when can you meet?
So for KDPS, that process is going on now. So and that interviewing, those interviewees are already set for this process. So they are doing the interviews today and tomorrow. So the next opportunity will be for the next process once they get to the chief's interviews. And we'll let you know in advance.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I might add that the union representative and I were involved in that process. And it's a collaborative process. And I think that's the type of collaboration we're going to need in everything that we engage in with our KDPS. The union, the KDPS folks, the chief, and our board, and the community. We've got to form a partnership. And it can't just be on KDPS and our board. The community has got to be a part of that partnership. And I think Chief Coakley is absolutely right. If we do that, we've got a great opportunity here to make something special in Kalamazoo. With that said, meeting adjourned if there are no objections.
Everybody have a terrific evening.
Thank you for your leadership,
Thank you.
Chair Payne.
Thank you.